Hi, everyone. Once more, welcome to the You Can Be Anything podcast. I am your host, Solange Che, and this is 2023. Welcome into the new year. This year, I'm beginning this part of the show with another, right? You know how I always say another, because my goal is to capture these people, to catch these people, follow them up, put time on their calendars, and have them come up here to talk to us about what they do. Today, I am honored to have Shulika Tata. Again, I call her Lilian. You hear me calling her different things as we go on. It's all her. And I want to thank her for coming to the show. Today, she'll be talking to us. So please stay tuned and listen. Thank you so much, Lee, for accepting my invitation. Thank you for accepting to be a guest on the You Can Be Anything podcast. I am honored to have you.
I really think I'm the one who is honored to be part of such a podcast that is valuable and is, should I say, changing lives, because our community doesn't have this a lot. So thank you so much for inviting me over here.
My pleasure, girl. Thanks for creating the time to talk to me. So, as I said in the introduction, this is Lilian Shulika Tata. Again, Lilian is a cloud solutions architect. She's also a wife. She is a mom. She does a lot of things. She is an author. And today I brought her in to talk to us about what she does. And who else can talk better about her except herself, right? So she's going to talk to us, tell us what she does, talk to us about who she has become, how her journey has been, and what she's aiming for or where she is aiming for. So, Lee, please, if you do not mind, can you please tell us a little bit about yourself? Who would you say Lilian Shulika Tata is?
I would not want to overblow a trumpet, but I would say um, I am an overly ambitious and a very hardworking woman. That's what I say. I am a goal getter and a goal setter. So that is just me. I'm a mom. You already said everything. Yeah, I'm just someone
Great. Thank you.
a bit
That
of.
is modesty. You're a little bit too modest. Again, with somebody of your caliber, somebody in your status, you need to be able to say a little more about yourself. But yes, I know.
I want to do that. Really, I want to do that. Again, yeah, I'm a mom.
There we go. We all know. So again, thank you for accepting to come here, and thanks again for telling us all of that. First of all, what I would like to know is you are a cloud engineer. From my experience, you're a cloud architect, a solutions architect for AWS. Knowing the little I know about you, I know that your initial career was in diplomacy, right? So what I would like to understand, and listeners to understand a little bit, is why the change, right? What attracted you in cloud computing that you had to give up? So diplomacy growing up, that is a very prestigious career. Why give up diplomacy for cloud computing?
Yeah. So interestingly, diplomacy led me to cloud computing, if I may put it that way. It did.
Okay.
So the story is just while I was a diplomat, I was carrying out a research in cyber diplomacy. And while doing my research, I came across cybersecurity, cloud computing, and all those terms that are being used in the technology world today. And of course, as a researcher, you need to dive deep and read into things, right? So um, I started with cybersecurity. I spoke to a few people while writing my papers. And then eventually, when I stumbled on cloud computing, which was through, so it was through a scholarship I had gotten, which is the Fulbright scholarship. That's how I got it. And with the Fulbright, you're given mentors who talk to you, right? They can either be a coach, a career coach, or, which is something we really don't have back home. So I saw that as an opportunity to talk to people and get insight about where the world is heading to, what is going on. And then at the time, I think I was also very lucky to have a partner who had been in the field of technology. And while doing while studying in school, one of the advice he gave me was take courses, pick up elective courses in technology, which is something I did. I took some courses in programming. I did Python, I did some Java, and then as I continued writing my paper with research, I saw where the world was heading to, right? And of course, when you look at cyber diplomacy, it's something that balances diplomacy and cybersecurity. And within
Security.
components and with the advent of COVID, you notice that cloud computing became very, very prominent. It implanted its seed somehow. And every country, before you heard of the Vienna Conventions, where if there are bilateral relations, people have to meet in phase. That was what happened to diplomacy. But COVID changed the face of everything, and we started sharing letters of credence over the internet and sharing different diplomatic envoy or documents over the internet. So what does that tell you? There is a revolution. There is a technological revolution that
Yeah.
everybody, every single person, every company, every organization is involved in it. That is where I saw my path, and that is why I said diplomacy led me towards cloud computing. That is how I found my path to it. When I had my first baby, Hanifa, I started taking some other courses. When I had Fifi, dived deep into cloud computing while I was at home, my late nights. I turned my late nights into a study nights. So we all studied together, and that's why they
Yeah.
call them today cloud babies, because my group members kind of gave them the name. And yeah, that's where I am today. That's just a brief story of how I moved from diplomacy to cloud computing. I know a lot of people
Yeah.
keep, but um,
Yeah, that is interesting. I find that interesting. And the fact that you're able to create that connection, right? Thank you for explaining how you were able to connect what you were doing at that time.
mhm,
And you found that connection with cloud technology or with the cloud computing and all of that. I think that it is very impressive how you are able to connect the dots and put in the extra work in order to get there, right?
that
Because one thing that a lot of people will talk about, like when I try to encourage people to get into the tech world and how diverse it is, the different things that you can do in the tech world, we always have that challenge. A lot of people, especially from where you and I come from. So, hey, if you're listening, Lilian and I, we come from the same country. We are all Cameroonians, and we happen to have gone to the same high school, St. Augustine's College. We know how our people are, right? People will tell you when you reach out to people, they'll say things like, "Oh, I do not have a background in that field," or stuff like that. I always use myself as an example. You even went ahead and you did some courses in that. I was a researcher in linguistics, right? I did language and documentary linguistics and all of that. But I was able to find a connection, to find a transition, to find a path that led me into another cloud, which again I was going to fight with you for not mentioning it in the book, which is the Salesforce cloud, because you mentioned Azure, Google, and Amazon, and you did not
I
mention Salesforce.
a Salesforce advocate, and I know there's also Alibaba and all that. But hey, I promise next time I should mention Salesforce in every.
Yes, no, that is good. That's fine. So again, I find that interesting. And what I wanted you to talk to us now is why cloud engineering, right? You picked Amazon Cloud. And again, coming back to the whole Salesforce and Alibaba and all the other clouds that we have out here, do you have any specific reasons? Was there any specific drive why you chose to become an expert in the AWS cloud? Any particular reason you chose Amazon?
Okay, so at the time I was studying, and at the time we formed the study group, I think by then Amazon Cloud was one of the most popular clouds. And there was a lot of people who had involved themselves and understood what Amazon AWS was, right? Amazon Web Services. However, being an expert in AWS doesn't mean you cannot, because I am multi-cloud. The only difference is I focus a lot on AWS because I have an Azure certification, and I'm also taking a CP certification. So if you're watching out there, one of my advice I always give people is don't focus on one cloud.
One.
So many companies now are deploying or employing the multi-cloud approach, right? So
Hmm.
do something in either you can choose one cloud to focus on, like you're saying, AWS or Azure or Salesforce, but try to have a little background again in all the clouds. It doesn't mean that they are different. They all function the same. They all
Yeah.
provide the same services. However, the names are different. It's just like using an Android phone and a Mac
Yeah.
phone and an
Hmm.
Apple phone, right?
Yeah.
Those are the only differences, but they function the same. But the reason for Amazon, again, even when you look at reports, Amazon is one of the leading cloud technologists in the world today. And they
Hmm.
also had set up, I think they set up a trajectory to employ, don't quote me on this, but about either 19, 20,000 or above
Hmm.
people certain year. I'm sorry, I don't have the statistics now, but those were some of the motivating factors because I saw a potential market in
Yeah.
cloud, and it was so many companies were recruiting people in cloud technologies in AWS cloud. That's just why there was that path for AWS. Yeah.
And that is smart, right? That is smart. And when I so some time ago I did some what I called a series in a career series, and one of the things I talked about is being able to do your research, right? What is it you're looking for? When you are able to identify what you're looking for, it becomes a little easier for you to determine what path you want to follow. So you put all of those different variables together and it will help you in making that decision. I see you employed all of that, Lee, and that is amazing. Yes, I'm going to leave you your Amazon cloud, but someday I hope you'll be interested to learn more about the Salesforce cloud as well.
Actually, going to be reaching out to you because I have a little gig coming up from Salesforce that I'm going to need your help in a lot. So trust me,
Yeah, so
I'll out to you to get as much information as I can about
yeah,
Salesforce. Talk about that off camera, but
like awesome. That's great. Yeah, thank you. So okay. All right. So one thing also, when we talk about transitioning, right? We talk about transitioning from one career. Again, don't get if you're listening to this, don't get me wrong. One of the reasons I'm focusing a lot on this whole transition is because a lot of people are challenged by it. A lot of people are challenged by learning something new. People are challenged by change in general. We just heard Lilian talk about the revolution that is taking place in the technological world, right? Things are changing. And the way things are changing is not matching the way people are accepting and adapting to this change. And that is one of the reasons why we want to talk about this whole transition and how the change has been, and that for anybody listening, you might take this as an inspiration, right? A motivation to guide you to know that, hey, this is actually possible. So Lee, if you do not mind, can you please talk to us about your transition? I'm going to ask you two questions so you can just answer them in both together. So how was your transition? Again, you mentioned it a little bit already. And what are some of the challenges that you face as you got yourself, as you, again, you're still in the process of learning new things. You are not the almighty know already, because again, learning is a journey. New things come up. They have releases every day that you need to update yourself with, right? So how has this been for you? How has this architect journey been for you so far?
okay. So it's a story I usually like to tell, right? Because, like you said, most of us out there look at it as a challenge. We think that it's too much to change our fields or to move from something different. The backgrounds you and I both come from are very different. They have nothing to do with technology at all. And this is the first question most people ask me when they are trying to transition into cloud computing or cybersecurity. Do I need a technology background to do cloud computing? Do I need a technology background to be a solutions architect or a cybersecurity architect or a SOC analyst or a database engineer? The answer is no. No, you don't need it. No, you don't need it. And this is why. I tell my story. Like Solange earlier mentioned, sorry, I am a diplomat. It is international development. That has nothing ever to do with technology, ever. I had never even known or thought in my life that technology is something I would find myself in today. But another thing, secondly, is you need to make up your mind, do your research, and put in the work, right? You need to make up your mind and put in the work. And it is a very interesting journey. And it's not been transformational. It's not just been professionally transformational to me, but in my own personal life, in my daily activities. I do see the changes and the differences and how I'm beginning to look at things objectively. And when you get to understand how processes work and how transitions of things work in a those things become implicit to you, right? So one thing I'll definitely say is that it's quite a journey. It's very challenging. It comes with its own challenges. However, if you make up your mind and you put in the work, trust me, it's going to be nothing for you. Nothing. One thing you need are the right resources, talk to the right people,
People.
get the right information, and you are set to go. Find someone that can mentor you, find someone who can hold you accountable for what you are doing along your journey. If you cannot hold yourself accountable, because sometimes we get drowned by different things, and then we get distracted and we put those things aside. Have an accountable, hold yourself accountable, or at least that one person could be a coach, could be a mentor. And mentoring and coaching is something that our background doesn't have a lot, and it's something I'm beginning to encourage a lot within our community, right?
Yeah.
Hold someone accountable, hold yourself accountable. It could be your group member, someone you want to study with, anybody. And trust me, the change you would see in 1 month, 2 months, 3 months is going to be unbelievable. And one thing that accountability does to you is that you also see the progress you're making, right? You see how much you're growing, how much you're learning in a day. Set your daily goals, set your weekly goals, set up your monthly goals. Daily goals could be just 1 hour, 2 hours to focus and study something new. You will not believe how much change you would make within a month, within 2 months, within 3 months, right? And to me, that's just how I think that anybody coming from any other field could get this going. Anybody.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing that, Lee. Accountability, it is just something that you cannot do without. And
Uh,
just one thing I want to add on that is consistency. I have a lot of people give up on the way because, hey, you said I was going to do this for 1 month and I will get a tech job. No.
And that is it. That is you put out the word. You're setting very short-term goals in a very short time. And most people would ask, how long does it take? You're worried more about the time than how much value you would get and how much you would learn
Yes.
within that space of time. Because you're like,
Yes.
if it's not 3 months, then it's too much. 6 months is too much.
Uh-huh.
1 year is too much. If you want a great salary, if you want a good job, it takes time. It doesn't just come in one day. It doesn't just come in 1 month. It doesn't just come in 2 months, right? It doesn't. Because most people, Lee, how long does it take for me to study cloud computing and get a job? Lady, man, it's gonna take you a while.
Yep.
Okay, what is
Yep.
it you advise me to do? Something that can take about a month or 2 months? Nothing. I'm
I don't
sorry.
know that.
You have to put in the work. You have to study, right? It's not just a piece of cake
There
because we
is
just
a process. Yes, there is a process that needs to be followed, just like any other thing in life, right? That process should, this is not a get rich quick scheme that you
thank you.
say you want to get. It is not. It is a process. When I tell people about my Salesforce journey, I did Salesforce a year and a half, 1 full year and a half studying, and I took my first certification. And so for me, and again, I don't use myself as the as the measuring guide or something, because my story is different. Other
Right.
people's stories are different,
I-
but you want to understand that there is a process. You
It's
need
a
to put in the work. It is not a get rich quick scheme.
It's not. And while you're mentioning that about the 1.5 year, this is what I did. When I started my journey, I had just had my baby. Literally 1 week after I had my baby, there's this group with Front Cloud, which we today it's now a whole organization that we're using to train people to provide information. We started with Front Cloud. It was a group of we started as 3 people, ended up as a 10 number people within that group. Most of them are in Europe, and there was just about 3 of us in the United States. Classes started at 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. in Europe. In the United States, it was 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. to
2
1 a.m.
1 a.m.
Every night, I sat up with the group and we started with the baby, right? You, it's you cannot do without sacrificing. You cannot. You cannot. Use something, find a motivation that would put you there. You cannot do without.
No.
I mean, you're not just gonna sit, get up in the morning, think you'll do 1 hour, 2 hours, and no. You really need
Yeah.
to put in the work. However, other people say, but oh, Scrum masters or people who do Scrum, it takes them about a month, 2 months, 3 months, and they get a job on there. Good. That is something that is also good for you if you think that it's easy to get it. However, Scrum masters just don't sit and they get the job. They also put in the work.
They put in the work. And that is what you've just said, a little backing. For those who say they use a month to get a Scrum Master job, how many of them are able to keep those jobs? You get it? So it's more like there is no get rich, like the whole career change,
No,
career transition thing, it's a process, right? So one thing I like to do is encourage people who venture into it to trust that, just know that this is something you need to put time in. That's why I don't encourage people to quit their jobs or what I would call a survival job. I'll not encourage anybody to quit their survival job in order to study. I encourage you to do it alongside, right? Because we all need to survive, right? We have bills to pay. Because when you quit your job, now you're trying to rush this thing. And I bet you that it doesn't go at your pace. It is not your decision to make.
and
You
that's
get
what
it?
them get frustrated and they drop out of it, right? Most people,
Yes.
okay, this is not what I had anticipated because you thought that in 2, 3 months, 4 months down the line, you're gonna get a job. If it was that easy, everybody would be in. Trust me.
Thank
Every,
you.
however, there are different paths that you can follow. There are different.
Yep.
You can be a database engineer, you can be a SOC analyst, you can be a cybersecurity analyst, you can be a cloud architect, you can be a cloud engineer, which those are two separate roles. Or you could be an architect and an engineer. You could be literally so many things. And that's why I say you just need to find your motivation, talk to the right people, choose your path, put in the work, be accountable, be consistent, and trust me, you're going to get the results. And
You
you'll be
said it early. Tada. You said it all. And that is it. I'm so happy that I have someone like you who is a mom, a wife. You have all of these other responsibilities, and you're talking to us about how you are able to create the time to do what you love to do and enjoy your success, right? And it did not happen overnight. There was a process, and there is still a process that you're going through while you keep working and enjoying the benefits you get from your hard work. Get
that.
it? And all of this, Lilian, has led us to what again I want us to talk today. Your book, In Mommy's Cloud. In
Mhm.
Mommy's Cloud is, again, I don't want to talk about it. Tell us a little bit about this book.
Okay, so like I said, this book was inspired by my daughter. I have a short form of the story in the very early pages of it, but yeah, this book is just inspired by Hanifa and Fifi, and they are the main characters of the book, right?
How
Um,
old are they?
Hanifa is 4 years old, and Fifi is 2. They are 4 and 2, two girls. So what happened is because Dad and I study a lot, Mohammed, who's been a very, very supportive. person. I mean, everybody who knows him knows who he is. Part of my cloud computing journey, he taught me almost everything I know. I'm going to be very,
Wow.
yes, he is an engineer. He's a sorry, not a cloud engineer. He is a software engineer. He writes code. However, he has worked a little with cloud computing, and some of these concepts was very familiar with. And that is why I would say, I guess I was a little lucky to have him around because he made the process easier for me. Very easy.
Mm-hmm.
He explained, he broke down the terms to layman's language. And that's how I was able to
Mm-hmm.
digest. And that is how Mommy's Cloud was also
Was
born.
born.
Exactly, because we have having these conversations at home about cloud computing. When we're driving in the car, we're talking about cloud computing. When we're in the kitchen cooking, we play a cloud computing video and we're watching. When we're in the office studying, it's cloud computing. So Hanifa, who is a very, very curious kid, every time she would hear mommy and daddy talking about the cloud. When she started getting smart and when she started flying, most times when she sees the clouds, she's like, "Oh, mommy, is it a cloud in the sky? Mommy, can you take me to your cloud? Are we gonna take an aeroplane? Is there a playground in your cloud? What kind of slides? So she just kept throwing these questions back and forth. And someday I was just like, okay, because she was really asking a lot of questions. One day we were studying, I'm like, okay, come, mommy. I'm gonna tell you a story of the cloud. So I just from nowhere I invented something about a cloud which was in a playground and the kind of playground it was. Told her the story. She was so happy. Next thing at night, while we're laying in bed, we read them bedtime stories. We pick up a book and she's like, "No, mommy, I don't want this book. I want you to tell me the story of Mommy's Cloud." That was what she said. I'm like, hold on a minute. Excuse me. Her dad was like, "What did you just say?" Right? And we're like, "Okay,
Mommy's cloud.
what's the story of Mommy's Cloud?" Okay. And she said, "Which is in the playground." I told her the story. We found something and we told her. The next day, she asked the question again. She wanted a story of a cloud. Her dad and I, we found something and we just started, okay, in Mommy's cloud. And we're like, okay, if she's really wanting to learn about the cloud, maybe we could use some of those terms, associate them to things that are in a playground, and, just gradually initiate her into learning and having an idea or just capturing those terms because kids at this age they capture a lot capturing
Yep.
those terms about computing. How about we do that? So we started finding a way of talking about an instance or how what a slide in the cloud is and how you could use it as your code pipeline. You could move from commit to deploy, and how there are different instances in the cloud, and how when you're walking into a cloud, before you get into a playground, there's a gate. In the
Eight.
cloud, before you get into a cloud, there's a gate called a gateway, which needs permissions. While you get in the cloud, it has different playgrounds or different resources you can use. One of them could be a computer, a game station. Those are your instances. Another one is a playhouse, which, oh, sorry, the cloud book just
Yes,
skips.
fine.
Yeah,
That's okay.
could be a warehouse, which could be where you store your database or your information, and
Yeah.
that is how we kept telling them these stories. And at some point, I'm like, okay, if we're spending this time to tell you these stories, we might as well document it so that you have something to
Yeah.
look forward to. Instead of reading other storybooks, you really want to read this one, we could put it in the form of a book and read it to you guys at night. And that's just how Mommy's Cloud came about. Because she kept saying, I want to hear the story of Mommy's Cloud. I want to hear the story of Mommy's Cloud. That someday she'll be like, Daddy, can I go to Mommy's Cloud? Yeah. And that's how Mommy's Cloud came about. And that's why when you look at the book, we made it as playful as ever to
Possible.
any kid and adult, right? And that's what you'd see security guards, which stands for probably the security groups that you would find in every resource within the
Yep.
cloud, right? Just security best practices in cloud computing. You would see there's buckets, which are like S3 buckets where you store your
Yes.
information. You could literally put anything about it. And the next book, which we have been working on, they're currently working on the images for the book, is going to be about S3 buckets as well. Um,
Yep.
Configure lifecycle policy in S3 buckets, what they are, how you use them. You see here, there's a robot, there's Alexa and Siri.
Yep.
You see there's a slide right here, which is this cloud pipeline from code build. to commit to deploy, which is also a DevOps practice for those who are
Yeah.
familiar with it. Yeah. And then right here you have different careers and different things you can do. There's another one here
Awesome.
with build. You could be a cloud architect, engineer, security guard, data scientist, literally anything. And one good thing that this book does as well is that it introduces anybody, however old you are, to cloud computing concepts in the easiest way. I have used this book, and I have about three people who are currently using it to teach cloud computing. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, to just an introductory way to introduce you to understand the different concepts of cloud computing. And that's what I tell people. It is very interesting when you study and associate these things to your everyday life, because it makes it easy for you to digest, right? Some people hear about
Mhm.
cloud computing and think that it's some very a cake.
Oh, very abstract. Like, and it sounds very abstract to them, right?
No, it's not. It's literally everything we do in our daily lives at a larger scale, at a very
Mhm.
large scale. And I tell them today, before when we had our phones, we had what we called memory cards where we would store,
Mhm.
right? Today,
Pictures and songs. Mhm.
what do? You buy space from Google to store your information. That is cloud computing, right? It's as easy as that. Now, what are the different ways in which you interact with it? How do you configure that? How do you manage it at a larger scale, right? Those are just the little concepts and things that come in to make what cloud computing is. It's that easy. It is that easy.
Yeah.
That's not abstract. I encourage everybody who is interested, reach out. Let's talk about it every day. Almost every day, I spend my day talking to people and
Talking about cloud computing.
and that was also what made me, to build the blog. My blog, shulikatata.com, has tons of resources about anybody who wants to learn about cloud computing, just anything. Go on it. Different careers, the pay grade, how you can start your cloud career. It's just different things on it. And if you want to talk to me, I'm always open. I love talking to people. You know, that's how Mommy's Cloud
Yep.
came up. And
That's
again,
nice. Thank
thank
you.
you. I was
Yeah,
just
go
gonna
ahead.
of books, and this is just the first introduction to cloud. It's gonna cover all the concepts in cloud computing, all the
Mhm.
concepts, still in a playful way. And eventually, what we're working on is introducing a forum to start introducing kids into the cloud. Actually,
Into
teach
cloud. Kids,
um
cloud
one of
computing.
the schools here that are inviting to come talk about it and get kids in that concept of cloud computing, just like they do with the kids, the coding, the kids
Yep.
coding, journey. Yeah,
Programs. Yep. Hmm.
there's a cloud computing one now that is coming up, and yeah, that's where we are. And I'm really excited for it, because it also tells my story and tells you that anybody out there, anybody, you just need to put your mind to it, set your goals, and boom, you're gone.
Yep. I agree with you. I couldn't agree any less. I definitely agree with you. And so this is the way you have put it. It's very, again, when I read through it, I was like, oh, this is not only for kids. This is for anybody who wants to, if you want to understand, you want to, like I say, sometimes it's easier to teach somebody a concept when we use our daily experiences in life, right? It's the same way the first time I ever heard about agility in Scrum, the person that talked to me about it used a very basic everyday life experience. And since then, it has never gone off my head. It's there. And so when I read through this, I was like, oh, this is amazing. For anybody who, again, it might not be for you, but if you want to know what it is in order to determine if this is something you want to do, it is a good place to start because it breaks down what to a normal person that is not familiar with technology. This might sound like some kind of an abstract concept, but with this, you're able to bring it down to real life experiences and it will help you understand it and determine, and you'll be able to determine if this is what you want to do. Shulika, please tell us, where can people find this book? How can people get this?
It's on Amazon, and it's on Amazon, the digital copy and the hard copy.
Paperback. Mhm.
Find it on
Okay.
Amazon. It's on well, and they have worldwide shipping. I know there's a couple of places we're still trying to get it to, and also we're working with a publication house in Cameroon, and they're gonna make it available as well. We also have it on Ingram Spark for those who are in Europe and Canada and can get the prime shipping. We have the hardcover of the book on Ingram Spark. So if you want the hardcover, the soft cover, or the digital copy, we have it on Ingram Spark. Then we have the voice version that we're working on that would also be released soon on Kindle. Yeah.
Sure, awesome. I bet that if you look at the first one, for those of you who get it, you'll probably be waiting to see what the following books would look like. So, Lilian, I bet that a lot of people out there are excited or want to see what this series will look like. And again, man, that's putting you into work. And
But I lets me know, hey, there's no break. You have to keep working. You need to, So I like it. I really do.
yeah, that is great. I'm happy that you're able to put down your thoughts and instead of just talking about it, like again, the way I do, I talk about it, you were able to like put this down in a book, which makes it more available, which makes it readily available for everyone else. That is, I'm happy that you're able to do that. So before we round this up, I would love for you to talk to that young child, whether girl or boy out there, right? Who is probably not sure of what they want to do. It doesn't have to be a child, it could be our mates, right? Who is not very sure of what they want to do. And they find themselves in the position where, hey, is this something I can do? Can I do this either? If you were to advise a kind of person, what would you tell them?
I'll tell them one thing. Talk to someone. Because if you're confused of what to do, then you need direction. You need direction. Find someone, talk to them. I'm never shy of just reaching out to people on LinkedIn and being like, hi, I saw your profile and it was very interesting to me. Can you spare just 2, 3 minutes? I need guidance. I need coaching. I need mentorship. Just to talk to me or point me towards a direction or my background of how can I navigate myself in these waters, right? Find someone to talk to. If you can't, reach out to me. If you can't, get on the internet. You have phones. Just forget TikTok, forget Instagram for a while. Get on the internet, Google it out, do your research. Do your research. We all can do it. But one thing that also tips others off is when people are coming to you to talk, they want you to give them everything. They don't want to put in the work. They don't want to put in the
Which is
work.
not, it's really not possible. You can't give somebody everything, right? You can't.
At least when you want to talk to somebody, do your research and have 4 to 5 things you've identified that you want to do, but you're confused about doing them. Just don't.
Mhm.
Oh, I saw this thing and I was interested in. What do I do? How do I go about it? At least have a little research you've carried out in the background. That you can speak like someone who really, really wants to make progress. That's what I tell people.
Agree.
And that's what pushes others away when you're coming in that manner. Just identify something. Talk. One most important thing, talk to someone, but you can do anything. And that is what this podcast is about. You
Oh,
can,
oh, girl, did you just get me at that?
man, that is what it's about. You can be anything. You can do
Yes,
anything. And it's about setting your mind,
yes.
setting your goals, putting yourself to work, and getting to where you want to go. It doesn't matter where you are in this world. I know sometimes back home people say it's a little difficult for them to, get access to the internet, get some of those Udemy courses and study, get some of I've shared my account to so many people. I've helped people reach out to us when we see that enthusiasm for you to want to
Yep.
study. I'm always ready to do that at any time. At any time. Just
There's a lot of people out here who are willing
who
to help you pay for a Udemy account even for 2 years if you show
that
them that you want to study, right? So it's not, I try to encourage people as well, but remember that this comes with, you don't just want to sit out there and through and say, hey, I'm helping. You want to make sure that people really want to do this because it's very disappointing when you invest in someone and all of a sudden you talk to them, they don't even take your calls anymore. So what, in as much as I don't blame them for complaining or wanting, I also want them to be able to put in that work because there is a level of effort that can be put in.
Yep, exactly. I mean, it
Yeah.
and it takes nothing. It's just dedication. I know social media. One thing I tell people, social media is a huge, huge distraction to everybody. Even sometimes I seem find myself falling prey to it. You sit on the phone the next 1 hour, 2 hours. I'm like, help me, God help me. What I'm sitting and doing is watching people's lives. I could also make a life of mine so that
Yeah.
others admire it,
Okay.
right? You can do it. Just block yourself from social media for 2 hours in a day. We're
Yeah.
not saying all day because it's inevitable. You
Yep.
can completely avoid it. It's completely inevitable. So just set those goals. 1 hour, 2 hours a day. You block everything social media, messages, sit down and
Yep. And to
focus.
you.
How
Yep.
I've been able
And this,
to.
that just boils down to what my dad, the most one advice that has repeatedly come to me since I was a kid is do whatever you want to do, but make sure you do it in moderation, right? His magic word is moderation in the way you do things. And I bet that we are not saying social media is bad. Yes,
Mm-mm,
it has its bad sides. It also has good sides, but you want to
that's
do it in
right.
moderation, right?
Yeah.
So there
You'll
we go.
find a lot on social media that is helpful. That's why we say
Yeah.
it's inevitable. However, you need to find your way of navigating around it. It's either
Yes.
it consume you or you choose to consume social media.
There we go. Yes. Lee, my final question, which is my magical question on my podcast, has nothing to do, doesn't have to relate to cloud computing, doesn't have to relate to in mommy's cloud. This is you in that position where you can talk to anybody in the world. Like everybody can hear Shulika talking at this moment. What is that advice that you can throw out there to anybody who cares to listen and who would take it and say, oh, thank you, Lilian. The mic is yours.
So I'm going to tell them today the world is your oyster. Consume it. There's so many opportunities out there for everyone to grow, for everyone to learn something new. This is the time for us. Take it and run. Hold it and run as fast as you can because in the next 5 to 10 years, trust me, where we are today, it's going to be a different story. It's going to be a different story in both the technology world, in the marketing world. Everything is going digital. So no matter what um, career you have, whatever it is you're doing, learn something in technology. You don't have to be an expert, just have an idea. Look at what's happening today. We have things coming up like ChatGPT. We never ever thought that people who write code could lose their jobs. This is a potential threat. I'm not saying it's a threat, it's a potential threat. And what you see happening is that they're beginning to measure either your level of education. They're not just taking anybody now. They're measuring your level of education, your the amount of experience you have while you're getting out there. Though for those who are smart and are business oriented, trust me, there is a lot you can do to benefit from technology. This is our time. I say again, the world is our oyster. Hold it and run. Run as fast as you can before it catches up with you, right? I mean, what I say, just just run. That's what we're trying to do. Oh, sorry.
It's
That's what we're trying
okay.
to do. That's what I'm trying to do. That's what I would just tell you out there. There's a lot of opportunities out there. A lot. A lot. Don't rush. Don't rush. Take your time, find the right path, and walk it. And when you're on it, start running. When you
Yep.
finally
Oh,
settle on that path, start running. And when I say run, I don't mean just speed up. When I say run, I mean pick up everything along that path you go and take off with
yep.
you. Take off with you.
Awesome.
You know, the success that where you would find yourself, you will not believe it in the next coming years when you've made the right
Yeah.
decision. Just go. Find someone you can mentor, read a book if you like reading books, watch a podcast, listen to people, listen to motivational speakers if you can, but find that motivation and most of all, be consistent and be accountable for what you do. Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much, Lilian. Thank you so much. I appreciate all the knowledge that you've poured in here, all the nuggets, the motivation, the inspiration that somebody that is just going to listen to us or watch us is going to grasp from you, right? Somebody that was just going to say, "Oh, Lilian did this." Of course, forget the fact that I know of sure Lee has always been that smart, intelligent girl since from high
We
school. Yes, but there is much. There is much more to that. I know for sure. Again, I was ahead of you, but of course, if you could go back and count, like, hey, what are those people who have this? You will come up, but it is not that intelligence. I always say that intelligence is overrated, right?
it's all
There is a lot more to succeed in this life aside from intelligence. So
right.
I always use myself as an example. I was not your most intelligent kid out there, but you'll be shocked
Oh,
at what I know today.
right, exactly. So shocked. Yep.
Great. So I appreciate you, Lilian. I thank you so much for coming up to talk to my listeners. Again, hopefully, as time goes on, when you bring out the other releases on the other books, we'll still have an opportunity to talk about them and see how far you have come with this great inspiration, with this great treasure that you're putting out there in the world.
I
Thanks
love.
again for your time.
Oh, thank you so much, and thank you for this initiative. I mean, the first time I saw it, I was like, wow, our people are really beginning. I mean, not that I'm looking at it in another way, but I've always known you to be that go getter. To be
Good.
that
Good.
that would pick up something
A,
and
a
do it.
hustlers.
Oh, I mean, from back in school, that was who,
Yes.
right? And it reflects in our lives today. And that's how we start picking up these things that are non-conventional to us, and we're beginning to make it a convention. We're beginning to change
Yes.
stories. We're beginning to build a trajectory for our people, beginning to set goals and set a pace where others can follow and walk the path. Like they say, when you go somewhere and someone had walked that path, it becomes easier for you because they just show you the path. You don't start finding that path anymore. And that is one thing I tell people. You're in a place where so many people had cleaned up the path for you. So just find the right people who would give you that direction and the route to follow the path they used so that you too would be like them. So thank you so much for really, really doing this. And I keep encouraging people. Podcasts are very,
Good.
people don't know the value of podcasts. Our
I
people
love them.
are important. They don't know that value yet. This
Yeah.
is everything. So thank you. And thank you so much.
Thank you again, Leah. I appreciate your time.
I mean, thank you for inviting me.